Yo, 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 what's up, man? It's your boy MVPJT, man. Yo, we are back. We live in the building, man. I know y'all wondering, like, hear his voice, but I don't see his face. I'm like, what's going on? Hey, man, don't worry. There's no need to fear. JT's here. And I got my main man, Professor, with me tonight.
You
What's
know,
going on with a smidge of chaos?
there's a chaos.
A smidge of chaos, man.
Chaos.
Hey, listen, man, it's crazy because now not only the teams we thought we were going to get into playoffs don't have a chance. Teams we thought wasn't going to make it, possibly going to make it.
Who did you expect to make it? That's not in.
Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah.
I expected Tennessee somehow somebody to get to that 4.
And of all the teams to throw a 60 burger on them,
South Carolina threw a 60 burger on the boys.
wow.
And it's crazy. Like that's so crazy. But what's crazy though, South Carolina has beat 3 teams that they were underdogs in.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it wasn't no barely beat them. No, they beat Clemson. They beat Tennessee.
They beat Clemson. And Clemson was up in that game.
Clemson was up in that game. But yet and
And
still, hey, shouts out to Spencer Rattler, man. Bro, really, you got to give it to him. Bro did his third dizzle and he showed.
yeah.
Spencer Rattler threw 6 touchdowns in
Yeah.
that one game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He did.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the most he's thrown in one game his entire collegiate career.
Yes. And here's the thing about Spencer. He wasn't a bad quarterback. I think he still kind of gets a little too much flack for the Elite 11, that quarterback show that he did when he was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it though, that QB1 show, how many quarterbacks can you remember that actually went on, other than Justin Fields, that had a productive college/professional career?
I don't even remember who was on that show.
So, off the top of my head, I only know 2 that has had a productive college career. I only know 1 off the show that has had a decent professional career. So the 2 off the top of my head was Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. Tate Martell is a bust.
I just remember what he said about Nick Starkel in that tweet.
But my thing is Tate Martell has so much hype behind him. He has so much hype, but yet you can't win out. Like, you went to Ohio State, left Ohio State, went to Miami, left Miami, went back home to UNLV, and now you basically saying you're done with football.
And the crazy thing is, the dude when he was at Bishop Gorman, the dude who waited his turn and played offense so he get on the field, and then play quarterback when Martell left, ended up being a better quarterback.
Right.
Because Dorian Thompson-Robinson is balling at UCLA.
Balling. But that shit goes to show you that if you're an athlete, you're an athlete regardless.
Yeah.
And Tate Martell, he was a product of his surroundings. He had great athletes around him.
He did.
You know what I'm saying? And that leads me to my next conversation, which is the coaches. As y'all know, is a coaching carousel, and that's gonna be our only yard topic for the day. The coaching carousel, like, man, you got Brent Key, the new head coach at Georgia Tech. Good move.
I think I wrote about 4 times. So I do the power rankings on Saturday Blitz, the ACC power rankings. I think about the last 4 times I wrote about Georgia Tech. I'm like, give Brent Key that job.
Yeah. Like he was the best to me. He was the best candidate. But they also had rumors about um what's that guy name from
Fritz, Willie Fritz,
who?
Willie
Yeah,
Fritz
yeah,
from
him, and
from
then Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien would not have been a good fit.
I need somebody to tell me how can you watch Alabama play football this season and want to hire Bill O'Brien?
But
And even worse, we saw how he ran an NFL franchise.
true.
Why you want him to run your college football program?
But if you think about what he done in the college ranks, he has a decent college resume. He Penn State.
Give him a smidge of credit because he took Penn State after the Sandusky scandal.
True.
I'll give him credit for that. But he parlayed that into the Texans job. I think Bill O'Brien is a good pro coach. His scheme, his philosophy about offensive football works in the pros. And here's the thing. Let's not get it twisted. I mean, Alabama's offense was pretty good this year, considering they didn't have a Jerry Jeudy, a Devonta Smith, a Henry Ruggs, an Amari Cooper, a Julio Jones on the roster. They just simply did not. The receivers that they have are good. They're not elite. But at the same time, when you got Bryce Jordan, Mahomes Young as your quarterback, how do you not know how to scheme things to make it easier for him? That was my issue watching Alabama play offensive football this whole season. It's like how are you're in the flow of a game and you're making these adjustments. How do you not make it easier for this guy to complete passes? It just seems like everything was difficult.
I will go on record and say I don't think it was difficult. I think last year when he came on the scene, no one knew who Bryce Young really was. Like they had hype around him, but they didn't know exactly how good he was. This year, teams know how good Bryce Young is. Mm-hmm. They know that if to beat Alabama, you have to contain Bryce Young.
Interesting factoid about this Alabama class that's leaving. Only Alabama class that will not have two natties.
True.
Like that's crazy. I don't know.
But you gotta think about it. And something another fun fact, since we're throwing out fun facts, I did not know this is the Georgia hasn't won a SEC title since 2017. Mm-hmm. But yet they got that one national title. And the team that they've lost to in the SEC championship game too have always won the title.
Yes,
that's crazy.
And yeah, and the crazy thing about Georgia, they're not a traditional powerhouse either.
True.
They had the Herschel Walker years, and really that was it until Kirby came. Because even when Rick when he was there, the primary reason he got fired,
he could win national title,
and not just that, he came to Georgia post. I'm looking at that Gator post Spurrier, pre-Urban. There was a nice and the years he was coach. Missouri and South Carolina both won SEC East division titles. His best, the 1 year they won the SEC, they lost 2 games. And I mean, he had Matthew Stafford.
He had studs.
And AJ Green.
No Sean Marino.
And did not. And so, yeah, so that's what he got fired. Let's talk about coaches. I'm just going to kind of rattle off real quick some openings and who they replace. So I'm shout out to CBSSports.com. So I'm reading in the order that they have it. So Florida Atlantic fires Willie Taggart to get Tom Herman.
That's a, in my opinion, that's a good move. I like Tom Harmon down there. I think he'll be able to recruit. But my thing is, will he get the 3 and 4 star players to buy into the program? Because I don't think he's going to get a high 4 star or a 5 star. He'll get a high level 3 star, a mid level 4 star. You know what I'm saying? But can he get the team, the players to buy into what he's going to do? You know,
But
to present.
when he all he got to do is sit in those living rooms and do his hands like this and wear that 2014 Ohio State National Championship ring.
True.
Because he was the architect of that office. But he's at Florida Atlantic, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm trying to remember. I don't think they're staying in CUSA. I think they're moving to the American. But they're moving to an American without Houston, UCF, or Cincinnati. I don't want to paint with a broad brush about the state of Florida, but if I'm the athletic director of a school in Florida, I want to hire a coach that knows how to score points. Because if there's one thing, and you know, I think you can make this argument about University of the State of Florida, and I know everybody comes to Florida to get players, but in Florida, you should at least be able to recruit speed.
Absolutely.
That speed, now depending on what level you are, that speed may be 5'8".
But at the same time, speed is speed.
Exactly.
And Florida is going, if Florida don't produce nothing else, they're gonna produce speed.
We'll find speed. I like that. I like that hire as well. Tom Herman did a significantly better job at Texas than he gets credit for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Texas has the same problem that Auburn has, and that is not everybody pulls in the same direction all the time.
And I'm glad you brought up Auburn. Speaking of Auburn, do you think Cadillac Williams got a fair shot?
I don't think Cadillac Williams should not have been the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. He's not ready.
Wow.
He's not. He don't have enough pelts on the wall. Not for Auburn. I don't know if Hugh Freeze, as far from the perspective of running a program, like he can you can get away with not hiring a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Clemson. Dabo was the wide receivers coach when he took over for Bowden Terry, I believe. When they got rid of him, and Dabo was the interim, which is why I'm happy Brent Key got the job at Georgia Tech, because sometimes you hire the interim and it works.
Yeah.
But Dabo had been a coach first. I want to say he was at Alabama before he went to Clemson, but he'd been around. I don't know if Cadillac's had that much experience.
Well,
and to me, there's a difference between hiring a guy with limited experience at a mid-tier, perfect segue, a mid-tier group of 5 school like UAB's hiring Trick Dilfer to take over for Bill Clark.
And I don't.
Now, but here's the thing. I think Dilfer's going to be fine. He coached high school, and he's done extensive work with Elite 11. He's got contacts to build a staff. There's a lot of questions I have about UAB's investment in the football program. Yeah. Although they've made some, they built them a stadium on campus, so they don't play at Legion Field anymore. They have a practice field, so they've made some, but there's always kind of been this little contention because UAB is in the University of Alabama university system, And I remember before Bear Bryant died, and they were talking about starting football at UAB, and basically he's like the University of Alabama Birmingham has football. It's called the University of Alabama. So I don't know about the invest, but I think hiring someone like Trent Dilfer kind of shows a commitment because Dilfer knows the game and he knows how to scheme. So I think he'll be okay. But I don't know. I'm honest. I don't know if I don't think Cadillac. Number one, I don't think Cadillac was ever in the running for that job.
But here's my thing though. Like maybe it's just me. Maybe it's I have a biased opinion. But if you look when Cadillac became the interim head coach, look at how those guys reacted to that and how they
Mm-hmm.
played the last 4 games.
Oh, they showed
They showed
tremendous.
more heart those last 4 games than they did the entire tenure of Coach Harson's.
Okay, so I'm looking at Cadillac now. He's been the running backs coach at Auburn since 2019.
Correct.
He's been coaching since 2015. He was at Henderson State as a running backs coach, West Georgia as a grad assistant. He was running backs coach at IMG. He was running backs coach for the Birmingham Iron. And my brain, I want to say this USFL.
Yeah.
Um, and then 19 to 22, he was a running backs coach. Now, I'll say this. When Auburn fires Hugh Freeze, so one of my favorite TV shows is NCIS. And like for years, like the running joke is like when you leave NCIS, you get shot. Well, at Auburn, when you leave Auburn, you get fired. No one retires from Auburn. Right. So when Hugh Freeze gets fired in 3 to 5 years, they'll probably hire Cadillac then. I think then he'd be, because I think what he needs, I think he needs to be under a coach like a Hugh Freeze who knows how to put together a program. He knows how to recruit. And I think those ins and I just don't think like 7 years as a position, well, technically 6 years as a position coach, 1 year as a grad assistant. I don't think he's got enough pelts on. I don't think he's ready. So, but what I saw in those 3 games is someone I think he's going to rise through the ranks very quickly.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll tell you, let him get on that 247sports.com top recruiter list. Now, I know that when you think about football in the state of Alabama, you think of University of Alabama, you think of Auburn, but let a Alabama State, Alabama A&M, a Tuskegee, I'll tell you something else. I think Kane Womack down in South Alabama, they played some ball this year.
Yeah, they played some good ball.
He's going to be gone in a year or two. I think a school like that would be good for him if he leaves in a year or two. And then when they fire Hugh Freeze after 3 to 5, maybe 6 years, because I don't think Hugh is going to get, because Hugh is going to do something very Hugh Freeze. I don't think he's calling hookers on the company phone anymore. But Hugh also has a reputation for being unprofessionally hard on his assistants. Yeah. Like Saban's hard on his assistants. That's one reason his assistants don't stay very long. But and they'll all tell you that. Like Lane will tell you like Saban's hard on assistants, but you learn a lot. Hugh is not the greatest people person all the time, from what I heard during his time at Ole Miss. Maybe some of those rough edges have kind of shaved off. At Liberty, who's looking for a head coach, segue. There's mutual interest between Liberty and Coastal Carolina head coach Jamie Chadwell. When I saw that report by Pete Thamel on Twitter, I'm like, isn't that a lateral move? But then I Google searched Liberty University facilities. Dude, they look like Ohio State. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole. Their football facilities are Power 5 level
So
down in
so
Burg, Virginia.
when I saw the Liberty game on TV, I want to say last year,
Mm-hmm.
when I watched Malik Willis, that field looks
Oh
like
yes,
a tech. It reminded me of Texas Tech in a
they
sense.
just they just added, I think, 5,000 seats to their East Concourse.
Wow.
So it's about a 25-30,000 seat stadium, and they're planning another expansion. They got bread down there, man.
Hey, it's coming from somewhere.
They are. I think. I believe they're joining CUSA next season. It wouldn't shock me in the next 5 or so years where they are, especially with, I think there's going to be maybe right after the 12-team playoff, especially if some of these ACC teams figure out a way out of that horrible contract and can move.
Yeah.
I could see the ACC taking a look at what Liberty has as far as facilities and money and enrollment. And 2027, 2028, the Liberty Flames are playing in the ACC.
I,
And
I won't be shocked that it's a lot of teams that I won't be shocked seeing playing in the SEC. Like you said, when the contract's up, I think a lot of teams are going to be leaving, i.e., Florida State, i.e., Clemson. I do think they may try to make a move to the SEC.
yeah. What so and the big sticking point with that is the pay to get out of that contract is so prohibitive.
Yeah.
And it's almost more than what they're making with the contract. And I get it. The ACC, they raided the Big East, and then they lost some teams. They get raided, so ESPN comes with them with an opportunity for security. Hey, and we'll even give you your own network. Okay, cool. But the contract was for so many years, it was almost like little to no consideration that the market's gonna change.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what podcast I was listening to, but I think it was Andy Staples' podcast. But he was so right. Pac-12, Big 12, and ACC. Y'all need to realize. I'm telling y'all this right now, as I look into this camera. Y'all better know right now that you guys are stepping stone jobs for Big 10 and SEC jobs, because the money that's going to those two conferences, I don't care how good my team is in the Pac-12. If I have an opportunity to coach in the Big 10 or the SEC, I'm going, because I'm going to make significantly more money
Yeah.
because the money's so ridiculous.
So before we end this segment, I just want to ask you a quick question.
Mhm.
Well, two quick questions. Who is your surprise hire? And do you think Dion leaves Jackson State?
My surprise, I'll give you 1.5 surprise hires. One with a little more detail than the other, because the other one you might not know a whole lot about. I was surprised that Luke Fickle took the Wisconsin job.
That was my surprise hire.
Initially, for two reasons. One, next fall, Cincinnati's in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they made the announcement 24-25, 12-team expansion. So now, Cincinnati, you're in the Power 5 conference within an expanded playoff. In my opinion, I think right now, and I'm not considering Texas and Oklahoma because they're leaving for the SEC. And although I don't think they're going to 25, but in the new look Big 12, I would argue that Cincinnati is probably right when they come in. And once again, not considering Texas, Oklahoma, they're probably the third or fourth best job in that conference. I will put TCU first, just its proximity to talent, being in that Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Second is Houston for the same reason. Texas, because you just have more talent. But then right there is Cincinnati, because they're in Ohio.
Right.
And they can compete for better talent, because now you're selling kids. We're in the Power 5 conference, just like Ohio State. Are you gonna get? Are you gonna get? You gonna get half the kids Ohio State get? No, but now you may be able to get one or two. And I would argue back. I would argue back and forth between the two new schools, between Cincinnati and UCF once again, because Ohio, where and in fact where Cincinnati is, they will dip and get some decent kids from Kentucky because they right across the river. Um, Man, I know we sure. That's why listen. We showing up and we going in person next week, man. This virtual ain't working for us.
Hey, shouts out to my man.
But then UCF also proximity to talent. But so I'm like, you would leave that to go to Wisconsin, and then I want to say 3 months ago, according to some reports, Wisconsin offered him that job and he turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I thought, it's not surprising because I had to really think about it. This is why it's not a surprise. Number one, that Big Ten money.
Yeah.
But number two, that means when Wisconsin called him back, they was like, Luke, okay, man, what you want? And Luke was like, what you mean? And Wisconsin was like, tell us what you want. And Luke was like, I want A, B, C, and D. And Wisconsin was like, okay. And Wisconsin's never really spent money on facilities. That's not something that not many people know. Like, as successful as they've been since Barry Alvarez took that job in the early 90s and made it a perennial 8 to 10 win team. They've gone to a couple Rose Bowls, all that good stuff. They don't really have facilities on par with a lot of programs in the Big Ten. Wisconsin about to spend some money.
Oh yeah, like, and I think that hire for one was a great hire. Two, I think he's going to elevate that program back to where it was. You know what I'm saying? Back to a winning culture. Like, granted, they have their up and down years, but I think now Luke Fickell is going to have them a consistent winning team. And I'm curious to see how he. I'm not gonna say it was it Cincinnati, but at the end of the day, I want to see how his coaching style translate from Cincinnati to Wisconsin.
I think philosophically they're the same. Like, to me, like Cincinnati is like Diet Wisconsin. He wants to be physical up front, wants to play big time defense. He wants to run the football. Remember, they went to the playoff. That offense was very much on the back of one Jerome Ford.
Correct.
Right.
And they almost beat Georgia that one playoff. And then, well, it wasn't a playoff game, but it was a bowl game.
Yes, that was the Peach Bowl.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, but I think he's going to have opportunity to recruit better players. And keep in mind that when USC and UCLA come to the conference, they're going away from divisions.
Yeah.
I think that's going to help Wisconsin in this case. And they'll be able to get better players. I think they'll be more active in the portal. Like, Paul Chryst had no juice on the recruiting trail. Fickell is the best group of 5 recruiter in the country. Like, at the group of 5 level, Cincinnati consistently had some of the better classes. It was usually them and UCF would have the two fight for the 2 best classes in the group of 5. I think that'll translate. And he did well with the portal. Wisconsin is and Wisconsin's one of those schools that you may not think got a lot of bread. They got a lot of bread.
Yeah.
And they're getting that war chest together for NIL. And they're gonna try to compete. I really think giving Fickell what he wants. Because same thing with Brian Kelly and LSU. LSU went to Brian Kelly about 3 or 4 months before he took that job, and Brian Kelly told him no. And the same thing with Michigan State and Mel Tucker. And they basically called him back and said, tell us what you want. Whatever you want, that's what we'll give you. And they're doing it. But I think Fickell's going to do great.
Yeah, I think so too. Next question. Quick 30-second answer. You think Deion's leaving?
Yeah. I don't want him to, but maybe.
I'm on the same boat. I think Colorado has offered him something that he. I think Colorado has offered him a offer that he just can't refuse. I think Colorado has they finna break the bank for him.
Yeah. And now that's not, according to some reports, that's not his only offer. It's probably the best. My only issue with him taking that offer, that job, I don't know if he wants to take this job, build it, and try to get a better job, because I thought he had the cachet to be able to legitimately get a job with a national championship ceiling. Because in
Yeah,
my opinion, if you're gonna leave Jackson State and what you're trying to do at Jackson State, you should leave for a job that has a national championship ceiling. And the truth is, black coaches, we have not traditionally gotten positions with national championship ceiling. James Franklin is the closest.
yeah,
And in my opinion, I don't think Penn State has a national championship ceiling anymore, because just the way college football has changed since they were a national championship level team.
yeah. I think he's leaving, but then again, a part of me says he's not because man, if he leaves Jackson State, who can Jackson State bring in to replace him? Who can Jackson State go and get that will bring the crowd that Prime is bringing? And then not only that, I really think half of the team may hit the portal.
Oh, half
I,
the team's in the portal.
I,
They're gone.
if Coach Prime, I think Jackson State is going to go back to. I'm not gonna say irrelevant, but like they were never irrelevant. But at the same time, like they're getting attention that most HBCUs would never get.
And Jackson State's a very unique space. They actually remind me a lot of South Carolina, because they were always like literally top 3 to 5 in FCS in attendance, even
Yeah,
before Prime got there. Like Jackson State alums, number one, most of them stayed between Memphis and Jackson, so they always come to games. They support the university. They haven't, they had not been a good team probably. I don't want to go all the way back to the late great Coach Gordon, but they had pockets of decent teams, but they haven't had this sort of success probably since Coach Gordon was in Jackson. So I don't know. Um, they're not gonna get anyone close to what he's done, not just at Jackson State, but for the SWAC.
yeah,
Because I mean, when they would travel, people would go to games.
yeah,
And like when they went to Alcorn, that was Alcorn. Like every place they went, they traveled. That was that team's biggest crowd of the season.
yeah. And then you sold out like the different classes, like the classes, from my understanding, elevated this year.
Yes.
Like people from all over went to these classes. You know what I'm saying? So I think the culture. I don't know what if he does leave, Jackson State's gonna have to, they're gonna have to make a splash hire. They're gonna have to go get a coach, i.e. Cadillac Williams. Now I don't know if he will bring the same juice that Prime is bringing, but I do feel that they're going to have a big time hire to replace Coach Prime.
I agree. I agree. And I don't know if I would want to be that guy that follows.
Absolutely not.
I would be the guy after the guy that follows.
Yeah. I'll be number 2, but I can't be the guy that comes after Dion Primetime Sanders. I just can't. Like it's no way. Like you're going in expecting to have a undefeated season year in and year out.
That would be tough. I just, man, I don't know. I'm old enough to remember when Colorado was one of the top 5 football programs in the country.
Yeah.
And I went back and forth on Facebook with some people about this. And one dude was like, "Man, it don't matter if you got money, you can build it. They're gonna come." I don't know that's necessarily true in this landscape of college football. Now, the truth is, listen, if you're talented, the NFL is going to find you. You don't have to go to Alabama or Georgia to get into the league. I
Exactly.
mean, listen, Smoking Joe Flacco was a first round draft pick by the Ravens, and he went to Delaware.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when Colorado was at its height, and they won a national championship, if I'm not mistaken, Darian Hagan was the starting quarterback. Well, ESPN did a documentary. Darian Hagan said Bill McCartney came to my house and offered me to go to Colorado, and he like, man, Colorado, I ain't going there. But here's this guy from South Central LA, and USC did not offer him. UCLA did not offer him. San Diego State offered him, but they wanted him to go play corner. Bill McCartney's like, listen, we'll come. You come play quarterback for me. Cordell Stewart.
Yeah. I was just going to say Cordell Stewart.
LSU offered him, but LSU wanted him to play receiver. Alabama offered him. Alabama wanted him to play receiver. Bill McCartney's like, you can come to Colorado, you can come play quarterback.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, in the early 90s, there were not many big-time programs recruiting black quarterbacks.
Right. They all wanted them to switch positions.
Nebraska got Tommy Frazier out of Florida. So when you think about those programs and their locations, one of the reasons that they were so good, because really the only two schools in the country that were successful at that time that were really recruiting fast black dudes was Miami and Florida State.
Exactly.
Not many other people were.
You're right.
And hardly anybody were letting these guys play quarterback. So that's why you see the success. Well, now Florida got Anthony Richardson.
Let's not talk about him.
But I'm just listen.
Yeah, true.
He needs to go back. True. He needs to go back to school.
He does, but he don't need. He's not a quarterback. He's not my quarterback. I don't want him.
It'd be nice if he had some people to throw to.
True. That's true. That's true.
So, two questions, and then we can get off coaches. I want to know your thoughts about Dillingham at Arizona State and Matt Rule at Nebraska.
So, Dillingham in Arizona State, I haven't done much research on that one, so I'm not gonna really chime in too much. I haven't, honestly, I don't even know who he is. I haven't done no research on him. But Matt Rule, I think him going to Nebraska was probably the best thing for him. I think he wasn't a bad coach in the pros. He just coaching college football and coaching NFL football is too. There's only so many coaches. I only know of two coaches that has successfully had a decent career doing that. Steve Spurrier had a decent stint in the NFL, and I would say didn't say in Miami he had a decent stint. It wasn't a showboat, but it was decent enough to say, hey, I went to the next level and had a decent.
If Drew Brees would have passed his physical, or Dante Culpepper would have had two good knees, we would be saying something different about Nick Saban.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so. But yeah, I think Coach Matt Rule, that's going to be a good look in Nebraska. Yeah. They have the money, they have the resources, and what he was doing before he left at Baylor, he was at Baylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before he left Baylor, he was building Baylor to be a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I think now he now has a clean slate, a nice foundation, and I think what he's going to do in Nebraska is going to be. I'm going to give him 2 to 3 years before Nebraska is relevant upon the Matt Rule.
Not relevant for being awful.
Right.
He's perfect for Nebraska. That's what they need. Now they had it, but then they fired Bo Pelini. But Matt Rule is interesting because I think guys like Matt Rule, who he started his coaching career in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this idea. I may not get an opportunity in the NFL, so let me go to the college ranks and learn how to be a head coach, and then go back to the NFL, right?
Right.
But I think, and that's what lured Saban away, because Saban famously was part of that Belichick staff in Cleveland. Now,
Mm-hmm.
although Nick started in college, he was a grad assistant for his old head coach at Toledo, and then he took the Toledo job, and then he went to Cleveland. But I think what Matt Rule figured out was he's a much better college coach
Yeah.
than he is a pro coach.
Because in a college coach has more control over what they can do and cannot do.
Exactly.
In the NFL, you have some control, but if you're not a general manager or the owner of the team,
Yeah.
you don't have that much say so.
And I think with Matt Rule, I think he's really good at, like, he's got a philosophy on how he recruits.
Yeah.
Like it's somewhat NFL scout like, but still kind of rooted in how you have to recruit college players. Like, you're not gonna find 30 diamonds in the rough.
True.
You're gonna have to go after the mid to high level 4 stars and 5 stars if you're gonna have some success.
And sometimes it don't even have to be a 5. Me personally, I think if you get a high level 3-star, mid level 4-star, you can build a solid team.
If you're gonna win national championship, you need blue chippers.
Yeah, you do, but at the same time, man, those 3 stars have a lot to prove.
That's true. That's true.
And I guarantee you, if you put a 3-star up against a 5-star, the 5-star gonna come in thinking he already has it made. But in reality, that 3-star is a much better talented player than that 5-star. Is just the environment the 3-star was in. You know,
So, great point. But here's the thing, and this is why Matt Rule is going to be good for Nebraska, because he has sort of a Saban-esque quality in that. I think one thing that people miss about the concept of a 5-star is they still have to be developed.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna, like, no one's gonna out evaluate Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. I mean, yeah, you sitting there with a Keely Ringo in your secondary, but Jordan Davis, who's with Philly now, he was a 3-star.
Yeah.
You know, my man Josh Jacobs, who's playing for the Raiders, who played for Alabama, he got offered by Alabama 2 weeks before signing period. And of course, when Nick Saban offered you and you a 3-star, you going to Alabama.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I look at when I think about this idea of the 5-star, like Najee Harris was the California Player of the Year, 5-star. I want to say 3rd-ranked player in the country when he went to Alabama. And he got better. He was a exponentially better running back from the time he started playing to the time he ended. Devonta Smith, 5-star, number 1 wide receiver in his class. He was, when I saw Jerry Jeudy, I was like, that's the most polished collegiate route runner I've ever seen. And then I saw Devonta Smith his last year at Alabama. I was like, oh no, that's the most polished. Like, every year, you saw more responsibility added on Devonta Smith. And then his last year at Alabama,
he became that guy.
He was an amazingly polished route runner. He was a one-trick pony when he first got. He was just a fast now route guy. Like, we got Henry Ruggs, we got Jerry. Devonta, you just run straight that way.
I'm gonna throw it to you.
And we get it to you. But he developed.
Yeah.
So I think with Matt Rule, he has that quality as well. He's able to develop even star high school players. But he's a measurables guy. So he may take a 3-star offensive tackle that's 260 pounds, but he's 6'7" and his arms are so long that he can scratch his knees standing straight up. That's the kind of those are the measurables we want to tackle. Feed that boy pizza, feed that boy chickens, and we get him his weight. We put him through the program and get the height, weight, and speed improved. But he's got great feet. He's got length. He's just not big. That's what Matt Rule does, and that's what Nebraska needs. They need someone who can infrastructurally build a program. And I was maybe one of 3 that I did legitimately question when Nebraska hired Scott Frost, because I just was not sure that he would be able to recruit the type of guys you needed to play the type of football that he wanted to play.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Kenny Dillingham quickly. Kenny got one job. Now the one thing you need to know about Kenny Dillingham, how well did Bo Nix play this year when he was healthy?
True.
That was Kenny Dillingham. Spencer Rattler, Keely Ringo, and them the 2 off the top of my Bijan Robinson. What state are they from? Arizona. All 3. And Bijan is the one closest to Arizona. When Spencer Rattler transferred from Oklahoma, neither Arizona school was even on his list. Keely Ringo wasn't like Arizona State was nowhere close to his list. Even a guy, and he's not from Arizona, but Brock Bowers is from Napa Valley, California, playing in Georgia. Kenny Dillingham has one job. Number 1, 23, 24, 25, 26. So Arizona State's in Tempe. That Phoenix, Glendale, Tempe Metroplex, they have potentially 3 to 5 blue chip quarterbacks coming out of that area. He needs to get one of them.
At least one.
That's his first job. His second job is to keep as many of the top prospects in the state of Arizona in the state of Arizona. And there's a lot you can sell at Arizona State University, but now if you watched Auburn, because he was offensive coordinator. Well, he was offensive coordinator at Arizona State. He started the development of Jordan Travis. If you look at Oregon's offense, he's gonna run an offense that can put up points. And I'm looking at all of this kind of through the lens of the next couple years, how expanded playoffs, but also now we're having conference realignment. Arizona has an opportunity to make a move because SC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. But the one thing they got to also keep in mind, this 23 class that the University of Arizona is bringing in, that's their highest rated class in school history. Jed Fish is down there recruiting his tail off. However, at the same time, Arizona they do have the highest rated player from Arizona on their roster, but they got the 12th best player from the state. The top 11 are not staying in the state of Arizona. So Dillingham has an opportunity, and he has an opportunity because he literally has players in his backyard.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I'm excited. I think next season gonna be a interesting season, especially with gearing up for the 2024 season when the playoff committee. The playoffs are going to expand to 12 teams, but we're gonna talk about that next week.
Okay,
that's gonna be interesting. So, real quick, guys, we're gonna do a quick film session, and this week's gonna be real quick. It's gonna be the obvious games. We're gonna pick the conference championship games and make it quick. So the first game we're gonna pick is gonna be the game that's tomorrow, Utah USC.
so it's hard to beat the team. It's hard to beat a team twice. Neutral field, Vegas. Caleb Williams is going to cement his Heisman Trophy against the Utes, I like USC.
I'm with you on that one. I'm taking USC as well. I think Caleb Williams is out to prove something, and I think Lincoln Riley is trying to show that USC is going to be relevant for quite some time. And this is the start. Year one, you take USC to the potentially take them to the playoffs. Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley is making a move with that one. So I'm going with USC. The next one is the Big 10. No, I'm sorry, Big 12. Kansas State, TCU. I'm taking TCU.
I got Kansas State.
So hypothetically speaking, TCU loses, USC wins. Is TCU in?
I don't think TCU. I don't think the committee likes TCU.
Okay.
So we kind of talked about. Let me say this real quick. I like Kansas State. I went back and rewatched that first game. If Kansas State is not trotting a third string quarterback out, not only would they have won that game, they were dominating that game. Kansas State's coming in to this game expecting to win.
Yeah.
Unlike Purdue, they're not just going to be happy to be there. And I think they feel like they can beat TCU. And they were beating TCU in the trenches on both sides of the ball. This major chaos game, y'all. I like Kansas State to end that streak.
I'm taking TCU.
And I think it's going to be the game of the weekend, too.
The game of the weekend, ironically, I think it's going to be UCF and Tulane.
Oh, that one's going to be fun.
That's going to be a good one.
Going to be fun.
and
I won't disagree.
I'm going to say UCF pull this one out.
Okay, we disagreeing on this one again, man. I'm going with the Green Wave.
I don't want to go against the Green Wave, but it is something. It's something in my gut telling me that UCF is about to pull this one out.
I like Tulane because they're hosting.
Yeah,
and I also like Tulane. Tulane's defense is better, and I love John Rice Plumlee, but Tulane is one of the few teams that when they practice against a running quarterback. And although the Gus bus doesn't run like an option variant, but he likes running quarterbacks. I like Tulane's defense. I like that unique offense Willie Fritz run. I'm going. I listen. This new blood in the New Year's Six. We've seen UCF in the New Year's Six before. Let's see Tulane in the New Year's Six this year.
Okay. All right. Georgia, LSU. We already know the answer.
We do.
We already know the answer.
But
it's gonna be close. It's gonna be closer than what people think, though.
And I disagree. I think Georgia about to put it on them. Georgia, and for a simple reason, because Georgia's really been scrutinized, like they were scrutinized against Tennessee, and they didn't think the secondary could run with Tennessee's receivers, and then Keely Ringo had to shut down Jalen White just to let everybody know what time it was. I think this is Kirby going to Todd Monk and say, okay, Todd, you can open up the playbook now. And they are going to let everyone know, for all of y'all that thought y'all should have put Michigan number one, this is why we're number one. And they're about to throw it on LSU. I gotta tell you, I don't like, as good as Keyshawn Boutte is, I don't like LSU's receivers against Georgia's secondary. And I also don't like two true freshman tackles going up against Georgia's defensive line.
True. I just feel like Coach Kelly gonna have him right. I think this is his first SEC title game.
Yes.
He want to make it a good impression. I think they're gonna come out and play hard, but I don't see them beating Georgia. Yeah, that's going a no-brainer. All right, quickly, last two. This one we already know. This one you kind of sort of gave a hint at it. Purdue, Michigan. I'm taking Michigan hands down.
Yeah, Michigan hands down. I think Purdue's going to keep it close for about a quarter and a half, and that's as much about how Michigan's going to play than Purdue's going. Because Purdue has had kind of this knack for getting up against top teams, and they'll do the same against Michigan. But I think at the end of the day, what you're going to see, you're going to see that Michigan hammer just kind of smother Purdue in the second half, and what'll be like a 20-10 game at halftime will end up being like 45-15 by the end of the game.
Okay. And last game on the docket, North Carolina Clemson.
So this is the redemption game. Oddly enough, I've wanted to talk about this game because I think there are two very interesting storylines. So, of course, Clemson can regain the ACC championship. And for everyone who just doesn't want to look at the numbers, leave my man DJU alone. Okay? Listen, he stunk last year. This year, completion percentage is 10 points higher, 21 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's thrown twice as many touchdowns this year and 2 fewer interceptions. And there is no T. Higgins, Justin Ross, Amari Rogers, Mike Williams, Ray McLeod receiver on this roster. Okay? That said, Drake May has had the worst 2 games of the season, the last two games. And he wants to redeem himself too. So, but I think this one's going to come down to the trenches and to the defense. And I love Daddy Dimes. I love Drake May. But I don't know if North Carolina can block Clemson. And I feel like Clemson can block North Carolina because Clemson is going to run, will, ship. Listen, they want to win the game, coach.
Run the ship.
Before you fire everybody and go rehire Jeff Scott since he got fired from USF, run Will Shipley about 25 times.
Yep.
Run Phil Maffa 15. Run DJU 10. Get the most out of him that you can before he transfers because he's tired of all the smoke. So he gonna listen. Just FYI, I would love to see DJ in trying to think of a quarterback who's leaving. There runs a real wide open offense. Actually, and I know they getting the kid from California. I would love to see DJU in Tennessee's offense.
Yeah.
Where part of the route tree is throwing deep. And it's very quarterback friendly. And it's a little bit more complex. But I like Clemson in this one. Clemson reclaims the throne.
Drake May's going to have a bounce back game. He's going to spread the ball across the yard. But that Clemson defense, that's going to be the telltale of this game.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to reckon say 32-27 Clemson. So and once it's all said at the end of the game, once it's all said and done, my final 4: Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, USC 4.
Okay. So oddly enough, although I do like Kansas State close, and this is predicated on the committee doing the right thing. I will go your same top 2. Give me Georgia 1, Michigan 2. Give me USC 3 and TCU 4.
Okay.
I think they lose, but I still think they get in. Now, you and I talked about this. I don't think TCU has a better win than Ohio State, but I think if they lose close, the committee is going to say close loss versus blowout loss. But also, when you look at the total body of work, I think there were times that Ohio State didn't play well and got away with it.
Yeah.
And they just didn't get away with it against Michigan. And although I think Ohio State's a better team than TCU, I would argue that TCU is more deserving.
If TCU loses, Ohio State 4.
So I'm not going to. The committee probably will do that, and you'll hear Blue Radigan get on talk about they play Tarleton State in the non-con.
Yeah.
That'll be the argument.
Well, guys, we thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of MVP University. Hey man, we put on all nighters tonight, man. We got it's finals week, it's last week of school, man. You know, so professor, talk to the people, man.
Man, listen, enjoy this weekend. Hope for just a smidge of chaos.
Just a
Just a
smidge.
smidge. Hey, listen, man, you want a smidge of chaos t-shirt? Hit the DMs. We got them in red with white letters, and we also got them white with red letters.
Yes, sir. So if y'all want y'all t-shirt, man, hit us in the DM, follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Hey, we got something coming up real big for y'all real soon. Y'all gonna like it. I told y'all MVPU is about to go to a whole nother level. So just be on the lookout for it real soon. And signing out, I'm your boy MVP JT. This is my man Professor here, man. It's finals week, man. We live. We about to go ahead and I'm gonna give me something to eat and go cram and study for my finals tomorrow.
Listen, and I'm about to go prepare these finals.
Yes, sir.